We do appreciate that, because what we have as a policy now, she's coming as a person with disability. What we have as a policy, we have taken a decision to prioritize people with disability, the senior citizens, and child-headed households. So that's why in terms of the prioritization, most of the time you'd find, and I'll talk to that in terms of the issue. I think the other issue was that she was looking for grocery, Mr. President. That one is, I think it was directly to you. It's above my pay line, Mr. President. But we'll continue to support the work that has been done. Councillor Nonzamo raised the issue of illegal occupation of land by foreign nationals in Wolseley. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. And also the land there. Actually, they're saying there's no development. The first issue is that we are not able to develop that land because it's a low-lying area. And I'll come to the issue here, the overall Kayamnandi, which what are we doing there? But in the area that she specifically mentioned, it's a low-lying area which is not safe for us to develop. So the issue is that people who are in that can upgrade because it's not suitable. Onzwaki, Mr. President, the policy previously, yes, did not allow for families when a parent has passed away, for a family or beneficiaries to benefit, but it has since been changed. That's why today we're able to hand over a house to a child whose parent has passed away, though she's older, but the person who had applied was her mother, and the mother passed away, and she passed away last year in September. She was able to get the house today as we're handing over. So the policy has been adjusted, has been changed. The challenge most of the time, Mr. President, which is what we are trying to make sure that people understand, is that you apply first, and if applied, it's automatic that you qualify for RDP houses, or what we call PNG. Majority of the time you find that people who have an income, once a person, especially in the farm areas, once an income passes 3,500, they don't qualify for a PNG and a free housing. So that's why most of the time people misunderstand. But also you find that somebody has applied, Mr. President, and communities, and then let's say you apply in 2000, the person who applying in 2000, then 2010, let's say, or 2020, then umuntu fumana umsebenzi uyahola. The system will kick that person out of the beneficiary list. When the person comes in 2023, is regarded as a person who must apply new, because we must do an assessment again to check if this person qualifies. Abanye is because somebody would have been married, owned a house with a husband, and then when they divorce, they go and register. And then because they've owned a property before, the policy does not allow them to get a house. And that's what we try to explain. Yesterday I was in the Guardian route, and we're taking communities in terms of explanation, and we have appealed to our councillors to be able to explain clearly to our communities the qualifying criteria. What we are finding in most of the places is that people qualify for a subsidy that we call for first home financing, where we are able to give them money as government because they have an income that is below 22,000, and then they can either rent or be part of the gap housing. Just to go on to what Mandla raised in terms of Mbekweni, but for Nzwaki as well, Mr. President, will pay special attention to it and look and assist. The team has started to work on it. On Mandla raised the issue of Mbekweni community, where he's saying that we are giving young people. Actually not. We had a protest some time ago. Young people, we create opportunities for them to work so that they can be able to earn a living, or even get service sites that they can be able to build. So we do not give old young people houses. In that project, we've got beneficiaries who are backyard dwellers, we've got farm workers, and we've got people who are coming from the Mbekweni informal settlement who have been benefiting. On the Stellenbosch, Mr. President, I couldn't hear the speaker's name. He spoke about the asbestos. This is a person who comes from Stellenbosch municipality. I think there was too much noise. There are two things the person asked. One is to deal with the asbestos and backyard dwellers, and for me to visit the human to visit Stellenbosch. Will do between myself and the DM visit the Stellenbosch municipality. On the asbestos, what we are doing, we've reprioritized the asbestos. In the province, they have indicated to us that they are doing numerating of the asbestos roofs so that they can be able to remove. For this financial year, Mr. President, we don't have any budget that has been set aside or within the business plans that they will remove asbestos roofs this year, but they are starting to where there's an estate that is being built. That land, it's a privately owned land, and that's why the developers are doing a private estate. It's not a land that is owned, from what I'm getting and assessing, it's not a land that is owned by government. I'll come again to Mnandi because there are projects that we've got at Mnandi. Umam Tobeka as well from Musta raised the issue that there are 800 families that were meant to benefit, only 180. 180 was phase 1 that was approved. Development will start. What I need to raise, Mr. President, here is that we do have a challenge of illegally invaded land. Area of land does deny us an opportunity to plan in time so that because sometimes in this area specifically, we are planning for this year 200 houses and also will be able to spend about 554 million in that project. Uxolani raised, Mr. President, the issue of foreign...
Just hold on. No, well, not fra. Let us all keep quiet because the minister is giving us really good information about what is happening here in the place where you stay. Laat ons net stil bly asseblief. Gaan aan, minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. So, again, Monica McGregor raised an issue that relates to us. It's a house that is vandalized, that something is not done. The report I have here is that the house has been given to the municipality, is identified as going to be a safe house. So it's not going to be under human settlements and would not be able to develop anything. Again, there was a speaker from Stellenbosch, Kayamnandi. I think Kayamnandi, people are still staying in informal settlement. In Kayamnandi specifically, we've got Zone 0 that is coming with 110 houses to be built this financial year, Mr. President. And again, for under the upgrading of informal settlements, we have set aside 18.6 million to develop 178 sites. These are sites which will have water, electricity, bulk infrastructure, water, electricity, and sanitation in that area. So we are paying attention to all the areas. This is one of the districts that we do have. Garden Route yesterday, the same message, we do have projects there, but they also expect more. So they will go in phases, and we've agreed with the MEC that communication with municipalities on what our plans for this year are is going to intensify so that people know what we have planned where and we can be able to communicate. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Minister. What the minister did not say, you can sit down. What she didn't say is that this morning when I arrived, they took me to a housing project. I think it's called Vlakkeland. And the MEC and the Premier and the other ministers who were there, and the Deputy Minister as well, Deputy Minister Chwete. They took me to Mr. and Mevrouw Buys had a nieuwe huis gekry from the government. We built the house for about 160 something thousand. But today the house, the MEC told me, could be worth about. The government gives our people immediate value. A house about, say, 400,000 rand. And this is what this government does. And you need to applaud the work of the government in that. The MEC told me is going to go through 3 phases. It's going to, in the end, be a housing project of the local government, and they build these houses. And there's very good cooperation between national government, the province, the district at play, where we all work together to achieve the results that I saw this morning, where Mrs. Bass and Mr. Bass have been waiting. Her mother, Mrs. Bass, who passed away, was on the housing list from 1991. And she died, and the policy had been changed, and she now could get the house. And today they are going to move into their house from a backyard. Now the government is committed to making sure that, yes, we provide housing, and some of it will be rental housing with the social housing program. Some of it will be houses that our people buy at reasonable prices, and some of it will be RDP houses. This is a government at work, a government that is looking after the interests of the people of South Africa. And I often say, I know of no government on the African continent that calls a person or a couple and say, here is a house free of charge. This is what the South African government does. It gives you a house free of charge, and immediately you have value. You immediately have value in your pocket. I'm now going to call Minister Cele to come and address some of the issues about crime, gangsterism, and all that. Julle kan almal sien dat Minister Cele kom van Natal, KwaZulu-Natal af, waar dit is altyd warm. As hy hier by die Kaap kom, daar draai hy 'n jas. He buys a scarf. We're lucky today he does not have his hat on.
Thanks, Mr. President, the Premier of the province, the Mayor, my colleagues, the ministers, but more so the owners of the process, the members of the community around there. There are a few issues, Mr. President. Well, I'm deployed in this province that I work as a member. I can immediately, Mr. President, confess to my sins. One sin that I have committed, when we deal with criminal issues here, we concentrate on Metro. Because Metro, out of 30 most criminal stations in South Africa, Metro here has 8. Worsley Police Station, surely one will have to visit this police station that does not respond. But also, there is some gangsterism that is run by a group of foreign nationals around that area. The same people that run our illicit mining from that country, Mr. President, they are only troublesome here. To such an extent that there are two groups from foreign countries that they come and fight among themselves there, even before they attack the local people. So is a small group of these foreign nationals that are there. That will be definitely, there is one way of answering, is to go to the police station. The provincial commissioner is here, Mr. President, and the deputy national commissioner, they are here. As we leave here, we'll have to give the answer to the community. When are we going there? Before 2 weeks expires, we'll have to go back and deal with the community. And deterrence, they just raised the issue that there is a problem about the police. They did not raise and they did not unpack the police, of which we'll have to really work close to find out why police are not responding. Kayamnandi is a satellite police station. It's not a full-fledged police station at the particular area. That police station works in tandem with Stellenbosch Police Station. They have 4 police, as they say. Maybe there's been the shortage of police, but I'm glad, Mr. President, to announce, and I hope we'll be really working together. Thanks for giving us another 10,000 of the police that are at college as we speak. 2,300 of them come from Western Cape. 2,300 comes from Western Cape alone. And I'm sure we'll be calling for working together rather than some people resigning, Mr. President. But last week, 2 weeks, we gave 251 new cars, completely, Mr. President, completely new. We hope that the provincial commissioner will be dispersing those cars as equal as it can be in the province. But when these members come back from the college with the budget, Mr. President, that I'll be announcing, but definitely the change has come. There are winds of change. When it comes to the CPF, some resources will be definitely announced. Some resources will be definitely announced that will make lives of CPFs much better than it is now. I'm not going to be making that announcement here and now, Mr. President. Mr. President, the issue of Sipogazi, I was made to understand that the perpetrator is arrested, but there is an issue that the community is urging that those people or that person, the perpetrator who killed this young lady and put him in the dustbin, should not be let go, should be in prison for a long time. We believe that the next segment of our cluster will really cluster of the JCPS, because there is either a real problem or perceived problem that says the other segment, like prosecution, is really not very tough to such cases. The example made, Mr. President, about 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks, 6 people were shot and killed at Ocean View. And the persons that were arrested, 2 people were arrested. When they were taken to court, they were let go by court because they argued that it takes more than 48 hours to bring them to court. We can't have a situation where people killed and then you work on hours to let those perpetrators dodge the law. But we are having that meeting to say, can we work together so that perpetrators, they get what they deserve? They can't just let it go. So that meeting has been arranged. It will be taken. But the Sipogazi case, we'll all come close to it and make sure that it's happening. The last point raised by the farmers, we'll have to check that police are not used by any form of groupings. They'll have to follow the law. If the law is followed, that's correct for me. But any grouping, whether the farmers, whether it's who, you can't use the South African police without following the law to achieve your own goals. Police are for the people of South Africa, not for certain groups of people of South Africa, either business, either whoever. So I'll be following with the gentleman that raised that. We are linking up to find out. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you. To all of you, that the Community Policing Forum will be getting more support and assistance and money, because that is precisely what I'm now going to ask the Premier to come and address some of the issues that will have been raised here. He's sitting next to me and he has been taking notes. And I also want him to touch, Premier, on the issue that was raised by J.J. Johnson about the, but to the extent, no, it was Johnson who raised it. But to the extent that you can respond to that, that will be really, really welcomed. And then there was an issue that was raised by our sister Monica, who comes from McGregor, who said that the community works project has been stopped, and maybe that could also be responded to. But there are a few other issues that you will have noted which you need to respond to. Premier Winde.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I think the Minister said she will respond to the Community Works Program. But thank you very much for those questions. I think first of all, and we will be going through each and every single one of them. But if I can highlight the MEC for infrastructure, the new department, Mr. President, Minister Simmers has been sending me the infrastructure spend. First of all, into the questions around health and education. So there's 569 million on health infrastructure. There is 105 million on education infrastructure, and specifically that's in the infrastructure spend. In education themselves, there's another 142 million. And this morning, those of you that were at the Waveren Senior School this year. Can I also say that specifically a lot of questions asked around the document that I've got via the Public Service Commission. So even the Public Service Commission is involved in looking at what is happening around health. And so the issues that were raised via the PSC were shelters that are needed for the people at the clinic, which we heard today. Also, the ambulance station has not been operational, plus people have to queue outside the ambulance station to take them to Worcester. In each of those, there are responses. The department is assessing this need for the clinic, and they will find better waiting areas. Security is assisting by opening the clinic earlier. The department is searching for the adequate facility in the Tulbagh area for the EM. The opposition are also holding us to account in our provincial parliament, because that's exactly how democracy needs to work. Then, Mr. President, I don't have a specific answer on that question around Earth 629 and the development thereof, but I have made a note of it. I've also made a note of the skills questions. And we have in this province a Premier Skills one. We bring the next Skills Forum here. From the Minister talking about that investigation, I know that from my office, Mr. Rololo has also gone back to you, and we will keep you posted on those issues that have been raised. Then, because of the pandemic, and if you look at the data that's coming out, a lot of our children have lost a lot of time in the school classroom, and we can see it in the results. And we've started a catch-up program. There's 1.2 billion rand put into the catch-up programs. Last Saturday alone went to extra reading lessons in primary school and extra maths lessons to where they need to be able to pass here. But again, as we've said
I think the catch-up process, people from the junior town councils, they are also worried about the societal problems that give rise to dropping unemployment in their various homes, that leads to children not even having enough money to travel, as well as to pay some school fees where school fees are still applicable. It should then be followed by Deputy Minister Skwacha, who will come and speak about the farm dwellers issue, Minister Nxesi, about the issues that were raised in relation to the work you do.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Greetings to the ministers, the Premier. We've been hard at work. And we understand very well that they are seasonal workers. the UIF. But because of load shedding, we're forced to have the stops and go report immediately. Because particular, which I think, as you have indicated, Mr. President, that Deputy Minister Skwatsha is also going to deal with. And there was Mr. Billy Klassen of the NGO who raised the issue of the employment equity amendments. It's been raised. It has been misinterpreted maliciously and are reminding us, the purpose of the Employment Equity Act amendments is to achieve equity in the workplace. Of this act is to achieve equity in the workplace by promoting equal opportunities and fair treatment in the employment through the elimination of unfair discrimination and the implementation of affirmative employment experienced by the dead groups. We have said, is the black people, is the women and persons with disability. We have even defined, we have referred to, there's no discrimination. And this is done for sustainable development. There's nothing which has changed in the old act except to introduce the issue of the Xolani Tegiso, or Tegiso, is the issue of the oppression, and also there was an issue to little. They have no heavy fines, which means we must take part of their profit if they do something wrong. We are also having a law, Mr. President, as I go towards finishing, a migration labor policy, where we're going to be talking about certain targets, certain quotas in the different sectors, where we're going to say you can only bring people from outside if that skill is not available in South Africa. December, dedicated to December. Thank you. Thank you, President, and all the on the 16th of June, various departments led by the presidents on the youth programs. A number of programs have been pulled together. There's a big program where we're connecting the young people, all of them, on the skills which are needed, on the jobs which are needed, on the training which is needed. We're pulling all the training institutions in the private sector and in the public sector to work together to deal with this issue of the skills. But the way we're doing it, we're training some of the people to do with the skills. Now what is happening, we have to upgrade our young people in skills. We have to retrain them. And that's what we are dealing with. And I just want to say, we have 14 sitters which are exhibiting outside here, them by issues at that particular level of the skills. I must also indicate that the NSF, the National Skills Fund, and the sitters across the districts to all local municipalities. And finally, I must say, Mr. President, under the orders of the ministers, the following departments have been instructed on skills which must be linked to employment. Small business development.
Thank you, Minister Ngesi, for a very detailed account. Deputy Minister Skwatsha, very...
Mr. President, Mr. Premier, the Mayor of the District, ministers, deputy ministers, and Nabantu Bento, our communities. Allow me to greet them, Mr. President. Molweni, 16 December instead of 16 June. It's a Friday afternoon. Let me start with the good news, rural development. We have something that was beneficiary selection policy. What is important about the beneficiary selection policy? It has a particular bias. While it has also a bias towards physically challenged people. But lastly, it does have a bias towards what we call military veterans. So we do have that, it guides us. As a Department of Land, many people gathered here to apply, visited an abattoir in Ceres that has benefited from, and we are working to empower Izandla. The second issue, Mr. President, the second last issue is there was the most worrying issue that was raised about farm. And assure Mr. President and our communities by General Cele, we adopted Labour and us. And at timeous intervals, we draw up a program that visits the farms to look. Unfortunately, at this day and age in the new South Africa, there are people who are Vesapilang, our department buys land. And we buy this land deliberately. These are the people I refer to as people who are reluctant to enter the new South Africa, Mr. President. And unfortunately, we are sure to nudge them on. We are sure to nudge them on, but we create an equal society for all to live in. The last point that I want to make, Mr. President, is in relation to the plight of farm workers. There is Esther that we had agreed that we need to amend Esther. We have now amended Esther, and I signed it for the new regulations to be not passed it yet. We have a facility called the Land Rights Evicted. We give you those lawyers free of charge. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Both of you for providing insights into what we are doing. My last respondent, DM Squacha, has also tapped DM Tolashe to come and respond to the gender-based violence issues.
Mr. President, the Premier, ministers and deputy ministers, this point that we are not so very proud, most important in our country, is at the unacceptable points. This is happening when we have agreed earlier on, far before 1994, that women are in fact equal partners into the society. However, the gender-based violence. The president is leading the department for the entire government, the provinces and local government, to declare gender-based violence. We dealt with to make sure that everybody works towards dealing with the gender-based violence and femicide. Every little and thing with gender-based violence and femicide, only by Minister Cele. Minister Cele alone will never be able to deal with gender-based violence because the scourge takes place to find gender-based violence. And declared in South Africa, you men, You are not even committed in playing your role in those families. You are not even committed to play that role into your localities. Hence we call upon to say, Gadaza Mongameli, hlanganisa bonke abantu, benze baxoxe phansi komnyango omnye. Makuliwe into esenza sibe zi-victims singomama. Asinatyala, singabantu njengabantu, silwile sayinxalenye yokuzisa inkuleko ebantwini. Masihlonitshwe ngabantu bonke ngodata ingakumbi ngoba it's better in coordinate.
I'm now going to ask Minister Nkadimeng to speak to the community works.
We'll line up all the issues raised from Mbekweni, McGregor, Kayamandi, Langeberg, and we'll see what type of a program. And as you receive your quarterly report, that update will be there. The issue of at the end of March, we are new CWP program. The final of transferring into the new program, and the delays led to some of the stipends being paid late. They are going to continue to be participants in a program that is aligned to municipalities. We want it to take a service delivery. Graveyards, for example, that payment has been made, and I repeat, those who have not received their payments for April and May, we are left with about 200 or so people in the Western Cape, and we are praying countrywide, and we will continue to do so as we incorporate you into the new work standards for the CWP. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I'm told that because we have come to this place that makes jerseys for Bafana, for
Orlando Pirates.
Orlando Pirates.
Sundowns.
Now, but still, I need.
Thank you very much, President. I would like it all to be said by those who actually are doing the work. And I'm going to invite Jeanette Hilton-Gericke to come forward together with Roseanne Haynes. And Jeanette has been running a factory called Genuine Connections. It was formed, President, during the democracy. Her husband started it after 1994. They've run it for 28 years. For 22 years, Jeanette has been with the factory. And for 6 years, she's been running the factory. And with her is Roseanne Haynes, who's a machine operator. Roseanne has been 5 years at the factory. She's that when the Stormers take on the Munsters, when South Africa shows that we are a rugby playing nation, when the people of the Boland will be supporting it, that they know their president, our president, will be wearing the Stormers jersey. So, Mr. President, that is what they want to give you. And Jeanette can say maybe just a word as soon as the picture is over. Literally a short word, Jeanette.
First at our factory, that a local company, Genuine Connection in Paarl, employs 240 employees. We've made these jerseys from the start to finish, printing everything. And it's also very heartwarming to say that then also just, I think most of you enjoy sport, of different types of sport. I think the government is doing a very good job in ensuring that South Africa is able to host international sporting events. And in particular, the next one that I'm really looking forward to is the Netball World Cup, which is taking place in Cape Town. And thank you once again for the opportunity.
May I then hand over back to the President.
Well, thank you very much, Minister Patel, and thank you very much for the 2 jerseys. I think as we come to the conclusion now, I just want to make a few remarks because the buses are leaving, and unfortunately, there's another calamity that is going to happen, that we have this Imbizo, and thank you to Premier Winde for presenting me with the documents you have given me. They are all well. And also thank you for giving me the opportunity to look at the housing project, to go to all. Thank you to all of you, and there were about 31 of you who spoke. Whenever we hold these Imbizos, we do allow 30 to 35 people to speak, and that gives me an opportunity to listen. We are a listening government, and vandaag ons het baie mooi geluister, and in the sense that we have, and we've had the opportunity to do that. And I'm not going to go through the names of all of you who spoke, from Vuyogazi, who was grateful about the house that she got when she first met me, and she now has a house. And much as she wanted groceries today, but she has a house, she has a home that she's living in. And also Mrs. Bass and Mr. Bass, who from today are now going to live in government, is demonstrating to the people of our country in a number of areas of life, from education. And we heard about the challenges of education. And Premier, I'm grateful about the initiative that the province is embarking upon, getting up to 10,000 young people, because reading for our young people has become a major, major problem. We now have to focus on our education system, but also to ensure that our young people are able to read for meaning when they are still at a young age. We heard about early childhood development centers needed here, and that we must expand the ECDs. We also heard about crime, and I'm glad that Minister Cele is here. A lot is being done to deal with criminality and to deal with gangsters. When I announced in the State of the Nation address that we would be employing more people, up to 10,000, we meant it in earnest. And today those people are in training, and I'm glad that 2,300 of them come from. Also going to be given greater attention at local level, where we want everyone, all stakeholders, the police, the community, various NGO ranks, and we will start seeing lower levels of criminality, including on gender-based violence. Deputy Minister Tolashe spoke about the programs that we have to reduce gender-based violence, but in the end, as she corrects, to respect the women of our country, the young girls of our country, and change our behavior. And where we are able to hold dialogues with men, we find that incidents of gender-based violence do go down. And we will be proceeding with this campaign of having these dialogues with men, because in the end it is us, the men of South Africa, who have waged war of South Africa. They are not our toys. We must treat the women of our country with respect. On the issue of skills, skills are needed. We need more and more skilled people so that they are able to be employable in our economy, and where people get more and more skilled. We want to focus on South Africans. We want South Africans to be employed first. And if we are going to need skills that are not found in South Africa, yes, then that's when we can go outside. Health is another. Local government, provincial government to work together. And I was quite moved to hear about the account from a number of participants here about the need for our clinics to ensure that people, particularly old people, do not wait for long periods. Very positively about our country, but also said that here in South Africa, particularly also here in the Western Cape, as well as in Stellenbosch, we've got the skills that our country needs, the skills that we have deployed in the past, including in the nuclear field. We should utilize those skills, and he's absolutely right. Embarks on a lot of initiatives internationally, including now with a conflict that is raging between the Ukraine and Russia. Together with other countries on our continent, we are going to be making an intervention. There's an initiative that is underway to try, and on our continent as well, there are a lot of initiatives that we are involved in as South Africa. Many other places, South Africa plays its role as a peacemaker. So I'd like to thank Rain for observing that there is a lot that we are doing at that level. With regard to job creation, the gentleman who stood up and spoke about an initiative that we can embark upon in Toes River, where there can be an economic initiative, and I'd like the Premier and the Minister of Industry and Competition just come up with unsolicited initiatives and proposals, and I would like us to look at that. Another major problem here in the number of our people are being, that must be stopped, and we can stop that effectively by addressing the problem frontally through our drug abuse policy, but also by engaging and occupying young people into a lot of recreational activities. The Western Cape, and particularly this area, has really become an important area in our country. It's become the wine capital of the country. 70% of our wine from Africa and from abroad come to visit the wineries and to experience the natural. This part of our country is the most beautiful part of our country, as it is now at national level. The export of our fruit, our citrus, and also deal with other parts of the world, particularly Europe. As Minister Patel was saying, we are the second largest exporter or producer of citrus, and other parts of the world are trying to block us. More impediments for our citrus to be exported into their part of the world. And the government, load shedding was mentioned by a number of you. This is a challenge that we are looking at. We are addressing it. That yes, the Western Cape government and indeed some local municipalities are paying attention and are even setting up money to ensure that we address this. And we heard what Minister Nkadimeng also said, that we are also setting up, continue operating even during the period of load shedding. At a national level, this is the key priority that we are facing and addressing as the government. This priority is top of our agenda. And it is for that reason that I appointed a Minister of Electricity who is spending every hour, every minute of the day addressing this challenge. And I remain confident that within the next few months, And yes, within the year, we will have brought load shedding down quite significantly. And we will finally eliminate load shedding in South Africa through the programs that we are putting in place. And I'd like us to have confidence in that. So, compatriots in Cape, to be here in this district to have our Imbizo. Many of the questions that you have raised, in fact all of them, will be addressed, as you heard Premier Winde saying. They've all been written down. Yes, at provincial level and at national level, all the questions have been written down. They will be addressed. There are all for your participation. It's been a long day, but it's been a worthwhile day. And I want to thank all of you. Ndiyanbulela nonke ukuthi nisinike ixesha lokuba lapha usuku lonke ukuthi sibonane nani. Ewe, will net graag baie dankie to all of you.
Thank you, Mr. President, for that. And I think the response of everybody is showing. I'm now going to ask MEC of that.
His Excellency.